This is a video on 8 things that need replacing now. To be honest, about 5 of them are cognitive things and the rest are social things, and a couple of them overlap. First of all, prose needs to be replaced. It's an interface is so bad that only the world's smartest people can use it well. In other words, only the world's smartest people can find and name correctly the points in prose text. People who get into Harvard, people who get into Stanford, people who get into the world's top universities, half of it is through a verbal ability that's tested for, and that those verbal tests, SAT, GRE, etc., are asking them to name the main points or find the ordering of the main points or tell how many main points or what sort of main points in a passage of text. And it's so difficult. The people who do it correctly get into the world's best colleges. Now, an interface where the people who can operate the interface correctly get into the world's best colleges, and 99% of people can't operate it correctly. That's a pretty bad interface. So prose text is a dismal interface. If you look at it, you can't graphically see how many points. You can't see their names. You can't see how they're ordered. So it's a terrible interface. It needs replacing. I've got a replacement called fractal page forms, and that's another video. Meetings. This is the foundation of all daily activity in all corporations and big organizations and NGOs of the world, and one of the most disliked aspects, considered one of the most wasteful aspects. And replacing meetings with something far more effective can be done. And a few organizations have done it. Some organizations have trained 100,000 employees to systematically operate meetings 20 times as effectively as other corporations in the same city. I'm thinking Xerox versus Kodak when I was in Xerox. What do you replace meetings with? You replace them with either scientific rules of order or democratic rules of order. For the most part, those are the two biggest replacements. Discussions. Discussions are all as fundamental as meetings are. They occur during meetings, on the side of meetings, in hallways. You present your views, I present my views, and then often we escalate with each other into emotional fighting with each other, and then we escalate in terms of seeking social supports against each other. Very few discussions result in your opinion influencing mine or my opinion influencing yours, and that's because our way of doing discussion is totally incapable of doing much. We're using a method of discussing, learned from our parents and our bosses, that's ineffective. You can replace discussions with a thing called stratified responding and get 20 times the agreement out from a group of people that you get from current ways of discussing. Decorative video, sitting events. 99% of the events that we go to ask us to be passive sitters and receivers. So we sit and receive. You get 200 people in a room and one guy up front, and the guy says something, and everybody else, the 200 people sit. I never could understand what the point of that was. I mean, if you really wanted to distribute information to 200 people, send them email or a YouTube 7-minute video or something like that. The whole thing of sit events is now become captured by monkey anthropology, the culture of vertically worshiping the more powerful monkey. And so 99% of events are just worship services to the derriere of the highest ranked monkey in the room. You get some famous person visiting and they put them in an auditorium and then 500 people sit there and pretend to listen to them. They don't learn anything from that. They waste a lot of time. They resent it. And the visiting monkey is stupid enough to think that he's respected more because he was able to tell his ideas to 500 people sitting in a room in an ineffective, arrogant manner, one-way manner. Instead of sitting events that are passive, just like TV is passive and being replaced by video games, which are interactive, we need to make events interactive. And I have what's called mass workshop events, also called managing by events, which are the design of events that are extraordinarily interactive, where eight or so different stakeholders interact. Video, if you close your eyes and listen to most videos, especially these, the ones I'm making, if you close your eyes and listen to most videos, you'll get 95% or more of what's there. So the video part is not transmitting information at all. In fact, we know this. When you create any sort of professional video, more than half of your time is spent searching libraries for pieces of video that in some vague way can be used to illustrate something, just to keep the video flowing through the whole half hour. And so in the beginning was the world, picture of the earth, and the world was covered with water, picture of water. And in the water were living things, picture of living things. And the living things crawled on the earth, picture of lizards crawling on the earth. I mean, no information at all. It's just an utter waste of visual space. So we need to know how to do non-decorative video, informative video. And it can be done. There are 64 things that video transmits better than oral speaking like I'm doing now. But it's almost totally missing from most videos. Replacing lone male leaders. Lone males are disaster leading. If you're too stupid to agree with that, I don't want to waste my time in my life persuading you. But for those of you who have a brain at all, just any ordinary observation of history of other times or airtime reveals what a disaster they are. They're really good at mass killing. Other than that, they're not very good at leading at all. In Grint's wonderful study of great leaders, showed that in all cases, like Nobel Prizes, it was never a single person doing it. It was always a duo or a trio. And the bias of the society for heroic males caused them to just drop out the females involved and drop out the partners and underlings involved and pretend that it's one heroic person doing it. Maxwell had Einstein's fundamental insight, for example. In 1882, Maxwell wrote, "Anyone who treats the speed of light seriously as a speed limit in the universe will revolutionize everything in physics." He went on to say how. And Einstein eventually read that, I think, in the late 1890s and did it. But it was Maxwell's insight. It was not Einstein's insight. But the press wanted a hero to worship, and so they worship it. And also, what's his name? Hilbert, the #1 mathematician in Germany in the 20th century, got Einstein's problem and solved the math probably slightly before Einstein did. But in 1912, Einstein had a version of that and then rejected it. But Hilbert did it on his own quickly. And but he was kind enough to let Einstein take the credit because he had started gnawing on the problem earlier, and Hilbert had his own fame already. But it's seldom lone male leaders. And as soon as you realize that you need sets of 2 or 3, you nominate them as the leader, and you make them interact to get the decision instead of repeating this myth that one person is going to be safe as a leader. Then you have replacing current and professional relationships. Viewing a person's empty room for 3 minutes enables you to predict more about their decisions, attitudes, and actions than working with them all day, every day, all week long for a year. So the social indexing level, the amount of a person that I interact with and know and use, is extraordinarily low in business relationships and professional relationships. And we simply have a fake kind of togetherness that goes on at work. And if you replace it with some reasonably more robust kind of togetherness, as you do in venture businesses or in Japanese businesses or Korean businesses, then you end up with performance that's amazing compared to what Americans get. And then finally, structural cognition. This is the insight of what happens when you apply. We need to replace applying mental operations to 4 or 6 ideas at a time to applying them to 60 or 120 or 200 ideas at a time. It can be done. There are tools called fractal concept models for doing it. And so replace prose with fractal page forms, replace meetings with scientific rules of order, replace discussions with stratified responding, replace sitting events with social automata or mass workshop events, replace decorative video with informative video of 64 types, replace lone male leaders with duos and trios of more than one gender, replace current professional relationships with high social indexing relationships, and replace mental operations applied to 4 or 6 ideas with operations applied to 60 ideas using structural cognition tools.